We ardent souls who have renounced the world and in turn have developed a unique sense of empathy towards people because we understand that, like the Bible says, sorrow is more valuable than laughter. And the reason for that is because you get to learn more from sorrow. You get to learn more from going through tough times and painful times. And your empathy is going to piss some people off, believe it or not. Uh, People that know this, people that don't, they'll be hearing this for the first time and they'll think, well, why would empathy piss people off? It's like, well, you probably don't have a lot of empathy then, because sometimes people will try to just take advantage of you. Sometimes people will just try to use you, treat you like a doormat, etc. And it's all because you know how to give to other people. You know how to give your energy in a way that is not going to be inconducive toward a unhealthy relationship. Because a lot of people, they just want to put their energy on other people. They don't know how to give energy because they don't cultivate anything inside themselves. They are simply people that want to push their toxicity out of themselves. They don't want to look in and actually transmute that into something better, because you can transmute negative energy into positive energy, but they don't want to have a relationship with God, number one. And people that are actually empathetic, they have a true connection with the Most High God. They have a true connection with the Creator and with their own ability to have courage in the face of negativity or fear. You see, there is something that a line in the Hunger Games, for example, President Snow, he is the, I guess you could say, the antagonist in the Hunger Games, and something that he says in the first Hunger Games is that hope is good. That's why we have a victor. We have a victor because, and anybody that doesn't know the Hunger Games, it's essentially where there's this dystopian future society where they gather two people, a male and female, from all of the 12 districts who are going to the capital to fight in an arena unto the death. And there's only going to be one victor. So the kids, all ages like 12 to 18 or whatever, they literally fight each other and kill each other for sport. That's it. And it's like it's a yearly event in the Hunger Games. And something President Snow says to this game maker, who is the leader of the Hunger Games each year, is that, why do we have a victor? Well, we have a victor because we have to have hope for the districts. We have to give them a little bit of satisfaction of, oh, we can actually like do something here. We can actually still win in some way. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. Because as soon as there start to be a little bit more hope and an act of defiance against the tyranny, that's when there's this newfound sense of rebelliousness in the districts to uprise against the capital, who is actually evil, and they're actually a tyrant organization. But nonetheless, right? And Katniss, who is the main character, the main protagonist in the story, she has this profound, undying yearning to protect the helpless. And it's not an act. It's not an act at all. She actually wants to help the helpless, and she sees that the people that are helpless need help. And it's this great display of empathy. It's this fantastic display of empathy and what it really means for a woman to have a nurturing spirit, even though Katniss is very much capable of killing people, and she does kill people in the Hunger Games, but she has to have this very solid sense of empathy, and she's challenged throughout the entirety of the series of trying to keep her empathy intact. And same with PETA in the Hunger Games as well. But there's a lot of profundity in the act of empathy in the face of tyranny. And right now, more than ever, God is showing us how oppressed we truly are. It was just tax day yesterday, and so many people are still celebrating their tax return, and it makes my skin crawl and my blood boil, because I don't understand how these people don't see that they're being robbed every year, and then they're getting something in return. It's like, these are your oppressors, okay? These are your oppressors. That it's the system. It's not the people in the system, even though some people are evil, but it's the system itself, and it's the matrix that is oppressing us. It's the simulation, not the simulator. And I've mentioned this brief difference in my last video, but the point that I want to really drive home is how you're going to upset people that are in the system. You're going to be upsetting people that are locked in the system. They are so far in the dark that unfortunately there's no help for them to get out. And this is something that Katniss discovers as well in the Hunger Games, is she sees how there are so many people that want to stay loyal to these tyrants in the Capitol. And a lot of them do so out of fear. But what's more powerful than fear is hope. And this is exactly what President Snow says to that game maker. He says, we have a victor because we have to have a little bit of hope, because hope is the only thing more powerful than fear. You see, this is why empathy is so powerful. This is why some people are irritated by your empathy, because the people that are tyrannical in their mindsets, that they want to control things, they're going to be most scrutinizing for your empathy, and they're going to be the ones that are most distinct in their contempt for you. If you don't recognize a true malevolent person when you see one, because like a narcissist, for example, and I genuinely think that we have more narcissists than ever, but I don't think that everybody's a narcissist. A lot of people that I've talked to over the past couple years have claimed to meet narcissists at every corner. And even me myself, when I was about 20 years old or so, it's about 2 years before my spiritual awakening, almost 9 years ago now, 8 years ago, when I was 20, so I'm 28 now. And when I remember a particular time where I thought to myself, is there anybody healthy in the world? Like, is there anybody that's actually healthy? Because I seem to just keep attracting people with narcissistic traits or highly narcissistic. And what I came to the conclusion is, just a few years ago, was that it's not that everybody that I met was a narcissist, but a lot of people just simply have narcissistic tendencies because they who do not seek truth and do not end up with Jesus, I genuinely think that they are incapable of actually being grounded and having a true sense of truth, meaning, responsibility in life. They're going to continue to have problems, whether it's spiritual, physical, or emotional. They're going to continue to have this regulation problems, and I've seen this time and time again. It's not always like the I guess you could say the magnitude is not always going to be severe in the person's narcissistic behavior. And I'm not saying that everybody that isn't with Christ is a narcissist either. Don't get it twisted, but I'm just saying that the likelihood of you having narcissistic tendencies or codependent tendencies or just unhealthy tendencies in general drastically skyrockets when you're not truly grounded in Christ. there's a lot of people that even think that they are following Christ, but they don't actually have empathy. Have you noticed that? Like, there's a lot of people in churches and such who claim to have empathy, to claim to have love for people, and yet it seems like their love is not really love. Well, it's because it could be because of one of two things. They don't actually know what Jesus and having a relationship with Jesus is like. And then on the other side, it's that they think that they're superior than other people and their love is better. No, it's not how it is. Because I've met people in my community in the past, for example, where they told me that I was super kind in public, but I'm super rude in private. And my inkling is to never criticize people in public. I try not to. And the reason is because I want to, if I have a critique with somebody, I want to critique them in private because I don't want to disrespect them in general. And unless they're like a true enemy and they're making themselves an enemy, I'm not going to try to disrespect you in public or defame you or deface you in public. That's just not who I am. And there's certain times and points where if you're like in a community, for example, like the Regal Change Academy, if you're in that community and you understand that we're all there to hold each other accountable, that's a different story. But if you're just out in public and whatnot, I don't critique. I don't try to critique people in public unless it's absolutely necessary, and I'll critique them in private. And so this person took my critique in private to be rudeness, and the reason is like my critique with him was that I don't think that he's actually following Christ the way that he believes he was. And I was telling him that, look, what you're doing, I actually have to rebuke. I cannot see this and not rebuke it. And I gave him my reasons why, and he took it to be, and I told him that, I'll always love you as God commands me to, but I don't respect what you're doing here. And it's the behavior that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the behavior. And he took that, he was very upset about it. And he's like, you're in public, you're super nice and whatever, and you're kind and respectful. But then in public and private, you're rude. And it's like, I'm actually trying to not be rude here, and I'm trying to actually help because I see that you actually want to do something good with your life. I see that there's something that you want to create, but your mindset about certain things and how you're going about things is a little too lost for me. It's a little too based on rhetoric and persuasion and manipulation and not on actually providing value. And that's why some people are just going to be upset about it. And that's actually a form of love. Like, that's actually a form of, I was trying to correct this person because they were coming to me about things, and I didn't initiate this. I didn't initiate this. They came to me. And then when I saw what they were doing, I said, no, I have to rebuke this. That is in itself a form of empathy. It's not a rejection. Like, rejecting people sometimes is giving them love. And that's what God has taught me a lot. God has taught me that sometimes the best way to love somebody is to reject their behavior. It's not to reject them as a person, but to reject the behavior and to simply say, like, look, you can do what you want, but with me, that is not going to be tolerable. And I'm not going to tolerate that. And I've seen this time and time again, like with people in my one-on-one mentorships, where I've seen people in their relationships and they're like trying to learn how to set proper boundaries, for example. That seems to be a big theme recently, is setting boundaries with people. in my one-to-ones. But that's just an example that I can think of recently that I think would apply to a lot of people in the collective consciousness right now. So that's an example. And then also just being able to articulate yourself in a manner that holds your ground, but also doesn't infringe upon the freedom of choice in the other person. So for example, with women, you know, I had a woman that I was talking to, and she was talking to multiple men, and we weren't really a thing yet. So I wasn't too, you know, I wasn't too worried because I knew that I was the best option. Like I knew that, and that's just my mindset. That's just my mindset. You know, I believe in myself. I have confidence in myself. I don't need to worry about these other guys because she can't fool me. And if she can't fool me, then she's not going to fool a guy better than me. That's my mindset, right? And so these other guys, they might have more material things or whatever. They might seem like they have it more together, but she's going to be more happy with me because I actually provide that masculine leadership. I know how to stand up for myself. I know how to stand up to her. And these other guys, they're not going to do that. They're just going to give her what she wants, and she's going to end up 10 years, 20 years down the line, unsatisfied. But I told her, I said, look, and I actually wrote down on a piece of paper, because I found out she had, been talking to multiple guys, and I gave her the piece of paper. And this is like a boundary that I have with pretty much all of my women that I've talked to. Once we get to a certain point in the talking stage, it's like, all right, now we need to set more firm boundaries. Like, set expectations in the beginning, and then the more you kind of like start to develop a little bit of trust in another, that's where you start to set boundaries. And so I wrote on a piece of paper, I said, look, he is not romantically compatible with women in relationships or talking to multiple men at one time. Because at that point, like, I wanted to, number one, set a boundary. Number two, like, see how she's going to respond. Because I'm not, like, this isn't normal, right? This isn't normal for women to talk to 10 dudes at once. It's just not normal. I remember my grandma telling me that when she and my grandpa were talking, like in their talking stage, 50 years ago, she told all the other guys that were calling her and whatnot, like, nope, I'm talking to somebody. And they weren't even like dating yet. They were just talking. So think about the level of egoism that comes into play in the dating market now too. And this woman was really pissed off at me. she was really angry. She was really turned on, but she was really angry because she didn't want to cut off her beta orbiters. She didn't want to cut them off. And I knew that, because that's why I set the boundary as well, is because I knew, like, man, this could go somewhere, but I don't think that she's going to be able to let these guys go. And this was a while ago, but this is just an example here. I don't even entertain women that have multiple options and they're trying to show them off or anything like that. That's just a recipe for disaster. A lot of men have been like, oh, she was with some other guy. It's like, I mean, who cares? Like, seriously, who cares? Are you the best option or not? Because if you're the best option, then you shouldn't really have to worry. And but anyway, that's a whole other topic. But the point is like, showing people your boundaries and really understanding like your limits. Because even though you yourself are limitless, what we can do in this world sometimes is limited. And I cannot participate in certain modes of action or being with other people that are going to degrade my own value. I'm just not going to do that. And so part of me expressing empathy is by setting those boundaries, is by being able to tell and communicate with these people. So being open to communication, not being neurotic, and not being compulsive, these are all going to be like recipes for an empathic person to really thrive. I remember I used to think empathy was a curse because I didn't know I was just in this sea of emotion, and I didn't know how to maneuver properly. But now it's a lot more like, okay, I'm on my boat, they're on their boat, they're on their boat. I've got my own boat. I've got my own boat in the sea of emotion. I'm no longer just on a life jacket floating around, letting people just slam into me and whatnot. I actually have my own boat, and I actually know how to protect it. So that's why people are going to get upset about this and your empathy, guys. But I hope that this video was useful and insightful for you. I do appreciate everybody that has been tuning in, dropping likes and comments recently. And I also appreciate that people that are reaching out for extra support and all that, for one-on-ones and everything like that. That is definitely going to be the number one task for a lot of people, is getting those kinds of gears moving in the one-to-ones, where they're recognizing how to set boundaries, how to do this, how to live a more prosperous life inside. It's not always about here, okay? It's not always about out here. It's about what's going on internally, and how to give yourself compassion, and how to really lead your inner child to something better, okay? So if you do want to access one-to-ones, my description, my info is in the link in the description box below. I also, if you have a lot more opportunities coming in for the Regal Change Academy, we're doing another class series soon. Oh, also, speaking of which, we are starting the 3-day fast tomorrow, and I'm gonna have my last meal tonight. But we're gonna be doing a 3-day fast, and that will be up until Sunday. So at least today's Wednesday that I'm filming this. So it'll be until Sunday. And if you do want to participate, you don't have to be in the Regal Change Academy. But if you want to participate in the group calls and such that we're going to have for the 3-day fast, you're going to have to be in the Regal Change Academy. And we're going to have a kickoff meeting tomorrow evening. And also in the Regal Change Academy, we'll have the regular weekly calls, like the Regal Assembly call, the Maps of the Psyche call, and the Bible study, which we're going to actually have tonight. So we still have a lot of other things going on with the Regal Change Academy. If you want to check that out, links in the description box below. I also appreciate everybody moving from the YouTube platform over to X, Rumble, and Instagram. I appreciate everybody's extra support there for sure. And I really do mean that, because I'm seeing how diversifying the assets is going to be moving yourself toward a proclivity of expansion in a way that is not going to be constricted. So I really do appreciate that. And with all that being said, peace be with you. Until next time.